Oh, hey, Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm off my game right now because I was trying to get that video. Hi, Sky. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. I don't think most of the audience knows that, we're so fancy. You do all the technical stuff on the background. They think we just appear this way, but no, you help organize everything and put it together.
Our 3-minute timer went away and I had to figure it out. And then I couldn't find it. So I had to get a new one. And then I messed everything up. So here we are. How are you?
Yeah, well, if we would have had Bestway International delivering for us and Evardy Construction building it for us, I don't know if we would have had to scramble. There it is. So for those of you who don't know, I give really horrible plugs. We're friends with our sponsors, so they don't put a lot of pressure on us to really deliver it. But because Erin's a professional, she hates it.
Do you remember that second or third season of American Idol, once they knew it was going to be really popular, and then everything they did, they had that Coke glass in their hand, and they're like, I'm taking a drink of a Coke while I judge you. And it was like, that would have been like your jam.
Oh my gosh. So there's, the horrible Will Ferrell movies that, guys like me like, they did a Talladega Nights and they'd be like, sponsored by Big Red Gum.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. It's really, really interesting. With that said, how you been?
Doing good. Labor Day weekend. So just went to Park City, Utah. So it wasn't too much elevation, but just enough. What about yourself?
Did you take the whole family?
No, Julie and I got away for a little date weekend with some other couples and childhood friends. So it was really fun.
That's fun. I did nothing. We had the office painted. We did nothing. We didn't have rehearsals this week. Well, we did Friday, but Saturday, Sunday, Monday. My kids also have today off. We did nothing. And that is not something that happens in my house. So I did wake up today. When I woke up, there were 5 teenagers in my house because everybody spent the night because I have the house. All the kids spend the night. So we did do that, but that's it. Just had friends over, hung out.
Do you just get a wheelbarrow full of donuts and breakfast food to feed all the teenagers?
I did go to Krispy Kreme. I actually went to Krispy Kreme's and then I had to work in my office and I really didn't want to get bothered. So I put a picture of the donuts and the chocolate milk on my Instagram stories. And I said, because I know all of you teenagers in my house will check Instagram before you ever surface. I don't know why that's doing that. Here's your donuts and stuff. And they all saw before they came upstairs. So yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
We're a public show, but not that public. I hear that there could be still some organized crime in the donut game in Kansas City. So don't go guessing who it is, but it's not Krispy Kreme.
I don't know what you're talking about. I went to Krispy Kreme and got the Barbie donuts.
Oh,
so that's all.
Looks good. Well,
I really wanted the Dr. Pepper donut. If you didn't have the Dr. Pepper donut in August at Krispy Kreme, they no longer serve it.
Really?
So, okay. Yeah, I don't know why we're talking about this. Let's talk about our show because nobody came here to talk about donuts. Here's the thing. If you are watching us on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, please let us know. Like always, Paul is here watching from a crew painting at Aaron's walls of Evardy Construction. Yeah,
look at that. Paul Fogel just killing it. See that painting?
Yeah, thank you. Our office is not done yet. Those are private pictures, but thank you for putting them on the World Wide Web. I appreciate it.
Yeah, now we know. Now organized crime needs to get out of donuts and find your office.
This is getting weirder. Okay, let's just go to our guests. How about that?
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, here we go. Where's music ever? The mystery of live shows. All right, today we're pretty excited because both of our guests will have to invite 2 of our referral partners that bring guests to us. So we're going to get to know them right alongside of you. And they're both doctors. A lot of doctors. Dr. Ashley,
Hey.
Alfredo, Dr. Garcia. Hi, guys. How are you? Welcome to the show. We're so excited.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
We're so excited. Sorry I was so chaotic at the beginning because I couldn't find the timer, but I got it now. Look right here, guys. It's going to be super exciting. So, Ashley, we're going to start with you. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
All right. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I specialize in anxiety disorders. I got to Kansas City through psychology. I interned here at Children's Mercy Hospital 8,000 years ago. Left a couple years, came back in 2009 to work at an anxiety specialty center. It was supposed to be a 1-year stop on my way to San Francisco, and it turns out I really like it here. So 15 years later, I still have a psychology practice, very small, part-time virtual. And what I do most of the time is speak and write. So I'm the co-founder of Peak Mind, the Center for Psychological Strength. Myself and a dear friend, another psychologist, we create trainings to help promote psychological strength, well-being, and resilience for employees and leaders. And then I do some keynote speaking. Pretty much anytime someone will let me talk about psychology and how to use it to live a better life, I'm into it. And then as a writer, I published my first, technically second, but my first real book this year. And it is all about...
Yeah. Plug it. Plug.
Guys, the way I see it, A Psychologist's Guide to a Happier Life. And it's everything I wish people knew about how our minds work and how to live a better life. So part of it for me is just really, I want to share that. I want to change the way we approach mental health and well-being. I want to make it something that we're all talking about because we have one life, and I want us all to get the most out of it, to be the happiest that we can, to perform at our peak, to set big goals, and to really just have an amazing time while we're here.
This is a bit my business questions. There's so many interesting questions people can ask. What's the best revenue generator for your business? Is it seeing individuals, group coaching, et cetera? Like what works for you?
Yeah. So my bread and butter historically has been one-on-one patient care. So my private practice, seeing patients. I'm currently transitioning from that to speaking, being the primary generator. And that's kind of where things are right now.
Aaron, you have an interesting question. I don't. What do you got?
Oh, I just wanted to see what, as a speaker myself, what has been your favorite speaking event to do so far?
Ooh, okay. So I did TEDx 2 years ago, and that was like big bucket list item. So that was amazing and such a fun experience. And then I think my second favorite, or at least my next favorite, is actually coming up in a few weeks. And I'm going to be the opening keynote at Living in Vitality, which is a Kansas City women's health event that I love to attend, and I am so stoked to be on the main stage this year. So it's going to be incredible.
I probably will be there. I go to that almost every year. So that's
awesome.
Exciting.
Yeah.
What's the name of the keynote speech?
What's
the name of the keynote speech?
Ooh, something about, I should know this, shouldn't I? Open heart, open mind, free spirit. It's about courageous living.
You're a killer speaker. It's fine.
Right? As I'm stumbling over my words. Clearly.
I'm excited to see you. Awesome. Okay, I bet a lot of our viewers are watching that, are going to be there. So that'll be exciting. All right, Alfredo, who are you? What do you do? And how did you get to Kansas City?
All right. So my name is Alfredo Garcia. I am the co-founder and principal of RG Capital Partners. I actually landed in Kansas City as a trailing spouse. My wife and I both were living in Miami. Well, then my now wife, then girlfriend, and she got accepted to KU for a PhD in child clinical psychology. And I moved to support her in her career effort. That was June of 2019. So just a few short months later, COVID hit, and I was here in a new city. Not knowing many people, but took the jump and went into entrepreneurship. So I helped a longtime family friend in Miami level up his commercial air conditioning company. I traveled back and forth between Kansas City and Miami. And at the same time, I started RG Capital Partners. And what we do is we focus on purchasing distressed commercial assets and then adding value to them through the capital improvements, leasing, management. So we do everything in-house. We raise the money, we purchase the asset, we do all the capital improvements, we lease it up, we manage it, and then we hold it for the long term. And our goal is to force appreciation on the asset for multiple reasons, but we can get into it as you'd like. But that's my story in a nutshell.
How does academia, because when you look at your background, you have a really, really amazing past in academia. How was the leap into entrepreneurship? Was it a forced leap or was it a choice?
Extremely difficult. It was extremely difficult. It was a force. As many folks during COVID, I jumped into entrepreneurship to basically kind of save myself, right? And to keep going. I have 4 degrees, Duke, Harvard, and Princeton, and I was gunning to be a college professor. I am so thankful I'm not a college professor right now. I think that I am very much suited to entrepreneurship, but that was what I really wanted. And then I jumped into nonprofit fundraising. That was my first career after academia. And then I developed a superpower of raising money, which I now apply to my business. But it was very difficult to even change my identity from being an intellectual to being an entrepreneur. That was very hard.
So there is I'm following this TikTok creator. That's what she's doing in a lot of cities that have gotten very expensive to live in, is she's buying old hotels and turning them into studio apartments, right? Is that something like your company is that like projects you're looking for? Is that kind of the same thing?
So she's doing adaptive reuse, which I highly recommend. Right now, we have not done reuse or any kind of changes. What we have done that is similar to what she's doing is that we will cut up spaces into smaller spaces because they're much more attractive. So for instance, we purchased an empty office in 2021, 20,000 square feet for $350,000, super cheap. And now it's 86% occupied because we cut them up into 500 to 750 square feet spaces. So nobody wants an office of 2,000, 4,000 square feet. You could use a 500 to 1,000 square foot office.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, you ready for your question?
Dr. Smith, what is the most pivotal point in your career?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a story, but you can't necessarily tell by looking at me, and certainly not in this context, but I have a pretty severe vision impairment that makes me legally blind. And so about 10 years ago, it progressed to the point where I had to stop driving. And for me, that was a blow, right? I was practicing as an anxiety specialist, loving what I'm doing, and all of a sudden I have to change the way that I practice. And personally, it sucked, right? So I was really scared. Things are really uncertain. There's no treatment option. So I got tired of wallowing at some point and figured, I don't know what else to do, and I will do what I do best, which is dive into science. So I started looking into the science of happiness. And around that time, I found the field of life design, which is sort of psychology adjacent, but it pioneered out of Stanford. They're using design thinking to apply to your life. So creating a life experience that you love. So those two things are what sort of propelled me into entrepreneurship. So the first step was, okay, I'm going to start a private practice because it was the lowest hanging fruit, easiest way for me to change my situation and start to work for myself. But that's what really was the beginning of Peak Mind. It was my personal journey, my desire to help other people take these things that I know from psychology, change the way that we approach it, and say, hey, let's help people live better lives. So that, I would say, was the pivotal moment. And that's put me, and then, lots of little pivots along the way. We started out B2C and now go B2B with that, with the aim of reaching more people. But that was it. It was really a selfish desire to not be miserable.
Do you use that story as part of your speaking? And do you ever go to specialized groups? Kansas City's kind of a hub for a lot of, I don't know the correct way to say
Alpha Point Vision.
Yeah, visually impaired.
There's the kid one, right? That has to run. Do you use that part of your speaking, I guess?
I do use it as part of my story. So my TEDx talk was part psychology, how our brains work, part my story and overcoming, coming to terms with it. And then so I do, when I'm speaking, more keynote style, motivational, inspirational. Sometimes I speak and people don't know any of my story. It's just Dr. Ashley, the psychologist, and here's how we use it. I'm not connected with the visually impaired community here in Kansas City. I am in Florida, so I've gone there a few times to speak in some of their programs, but I just haven't really gotten connected here. It's a little bit of a newer audience for me, which sounds kind of strange. You think that would be like right where I speak, but I generally speak more to high responsibility professionals and leaders. So
yeah, well, we do a lot of connecting on this show, so just let me know. Reinhard Mayberry is a CEO, and I've maybe read like 3 books in my life. That's one of them because it tells the history of Kansas City. Cool. Because some wealthy families during the Depression got involved that kept it alive to be the largest non-for-profit for the visually impaired in the country.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they do a lot of government contracts because one thing people don't realize too is, one, like yourself, Dr. Smith, people that are visually impaired are not totally blind,
right?
95%. And then also every government contract, a percentage of it needs to be there for those with disabilities.
Makes sense.
Amazing. Caitlin said, so interesting. I don't know who she was talking about, but it's all been really interesting today. So I just wanted to make sure I pulled that up. Okay, Scott, ready for your question?
Dr. Garcia, what is the most pivotal point in your career?
I have to say jumping into entrepreneurship. I mean, I kind of detailed it a little bit before, but I just remember talking to my business partner, because RG stands for Rivera Garcia. So Carlos Rivera is my business partner, Alfredo Garcia, right? RG. And at one point I said, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't know. And he had to stop me and he goes, what the hell do you think we're doing right now? Right. So get over it and let's get work done. I think that it's probably been one of the hardest times to be an entrepreneur. But what you guys mentioned, that you were both very positive during the time. One of the things that I tell folks is like, hey, if we can make money now, imagine what we can do in the future, right? So just keep your head down. Let's just keep focusing on the basics. When a basketball coach takes over a new team, what does he or she do? Just go back to dribbling, passing, the basic drills. I say we all just focus on the basics now: revenue generation, cost management, focusing on the small things so that later on the big things can happen. But it was a significant change in my life for sure.
So for the viewers that are not keeping up with interest rates, give us why you're excited, why you're not excited. What do you think about the next year or two for your business?
So it's fascinating because since we focus on commercial properties, that's been an area that banks have been very reluctant to lend to. And so we were very anxious about the increase in interest rates, and it did lead to a complete stoppage. We had 3 acquisitions in 1 year, 3 in another year, and then this year we're focused on 1, and hopefully we can get another one. But the wind is finally, settling down, and we're finding that the interest rates will come down, and that will be good for acquiring projects. However, it may not be good for the prices of the acquisition. So one of the things that we do look for is on a very low basis. If we make our money at the purchase, is what the classic phrase is. So we look for extremely low basis, because what we make money on is the delta between what we bought it for and what it's worth 3 years or 5 years after we've done all the improvements. So we are excited because banks are starting to loosen up a little bit more, and things are becoming more probable. The success is becoming more probable because the interest rates allow for the underwriting to succeed.
Eduardo is very excited. He left this comment 3 times. Great crew. Love what Alfredo and RG partners do. And with that, I have a question. When you're starting a partnership, just because I'm in marketing, so I do a lot of branding, so this is where my brain goes. When you have 2 partners and you're trying to decide whose name goes before the other, talk to us how that looked.
Very funny. We were going to go in alphabetical order, but the name was already taken. And so it was supposed to be GR, but I actually am happy it wasn't, because then it looks like GR. And you know how it is, just immediate, people's automatic impressions go in wild directions. So I'm happier with RG than with GR.
It's the frontal lobe.
Yeah.
Good story. Good question.
Yeah, that was fun.
No, I've seen that break up partnership, just trying to come up with what order that goes in. So I always wonder. All right, cool. So, all right, Dr. Ashley, how is your 2024 going, and how can the Kansas City community help you?
Yeah, actually 2024 is going really well. I am someone who likes to set really big goals and go for it. And so my goals this year were to publish a book. I did, and I have a very lofty sales goal for that. So that's one way Kansas City could help, is buy a copy, right? And buy it for your entire team.
What?
Where do they buy it? It's available on Amazon, and then I have a not Amazon option. So drashleysmith.com/book gives you both. And then there will be audiobook hopefully by Thanksgiving. And my other big goal for 2024 was to shift my business revenue from primarily one-on-one patient care to speaking. And that's going really well too. But that's another place that the community could certainly help out. So if you are interested in creating sessions for your employees or your teams that are science-backed, super engaging, and immediately applicable, shoot me an email, DM me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to talk about that, especially because October is World Mental Health Day. That's a great time. And then the holiday season is stress goes through the roof, and people really could benefit from practical tips of how do I keep my well-being intact. Election season is taxing people. And so that's some interesting ways to help people cope there too.
Can we talk through the artwork of your book? Because I think it's very underrated, but I also see a lot of artwork for books. And I think yours is wonderful. So can you kind of talk through that decision making?
I can. So I had a wonderful designer with GWN Publishing, and I sent some sample, just these are the book, kind of some books that I liked, and she came up with this. And so what I really love, it's brand colors for Peak Mind, but it's inverted. So the white letters on the dark background, which is how my vision works. Everything that I use electronically is inverted because that's how I see better. And then we have this like little light swirl in the back that just sort of gave eye vibes to me. And so it's sort of a play on words of this is the way I see it. I very literally see the world differently than other people do because of the way my visual field works. But I also see the world very differently because of my psychology background and what I know about human minds and the way they warp or skew our reality. So I thought she did a beautiful job of just capturing. So thank you for noticing.
Yeah, it's really great. And if your website doesn't do the inverted colors, you can chat with us because that has become so important, and a lot of websites still are not inclusive. So I'm glad that you brought that up. So yeah, I think it's a great looking book cover. Very often people get on here and I just keep my mouth shut.
I will take that as a compliment.
I am very impressed with that. Awesome. Okay, so best place to connect with you, is it LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is great, and it's at Dr. Ashley Smith.
Awesome. All right, Alfredo, how's 2024 gone for you, and how can Kansas City help you get to your goals?
Deal. A little slower than I had hoped. We were hoping for 3 acquisitions this year, and we're only focused on 1, and we'll put in an offer for a second. So the best way to support us is if you know of any building owners who are tired of holding onto an asset that is not producing for them, or if you know any tenants, large-scale tenants actually, who are looking to be a part owner. So we do something interesting, Carlos and I, which is that we offer kind of like, equity partnership to some folks. So let me give you an example. Our last building acquisition last year in August, we had about $300,000 of capital improvements that needed to happen. And we asked our GC and said, listen, how about you do all the work? We'll give it all to you. But instead of taking profit, why don't you take equity? Free, right? So they did it and they were amazing. And then they're part owner and now they get a check every quarter as a distribution. So I offer similar partnerships to folks. For instance, if you're a large tenant and you've been leasing in different places, but you don't have enough to buy a building, a multi-tenant commercial strip, for instance, then come in, invest, and we'll even give you a couple points of a kicker free equity for being our first tenant in the door. And then finally, for building owners, let's say you have a building, it's derelict. We love the crappier the building, the better. And it's an eyesore to you. Well, don't sell us your building. Why don't you sell us 81% of the building, or 79% of the building actually. And then what we'll do is we'll take over and we'll fix it up. And then you take a back seat as a limited partner and get a cash distribution every quarter. So we try and be creative because right now, the way that interest rates are and the commercial market is a little bit tenuous. So we try and find these ways that we can actually be opportunistic.
Why 79%?
So if go ahead, Aaron.
I said, why 79%?
Yeah. So I wanted to clarify is because anybody who's 20% and above is a beneficial owner, which means that they would have to guarantee any loans on the building. So in order for the building owner to kind of really take a step back and not have to do anything, they would have to sell, 81% actually is what they would have to sell.
Got it.
So if you're a profitable business, this is an opportunity also to lose money, but gain access to an asset that's growing.
Correct.
So it's really just a tax strategy as well.
Correct. So it's 100% that. You would get tremendous cost appreciation on all the capital improvements and everything that's taking place in the first year. There's bonus depreciation right now, and you take that huge hit. Not only that, but it's a multi-tenant building. So your business is paying rent, but you as the business owner are receiving distributions from the entire strip. So it's basically a rebate that goes back into your pocket. And essentially, like I mentioned, if you don't have $5 million or $3 million sitting around to purchase an asset and you don't want to take on the risk, that's where you bring folks like Carlos and I, because we'll take on all the risk and start making the center nice.
If you have $5 million laying around, I can help you decide what to do with it.
I got ideas.
I got all sorts of ideas with that extra $5 million.
Aaron, one quick question. Carlos, who are your sports teams?
Alfredo. I'm Alfredo. Carlos is my business.
Sorry.
No worries. So, unfortunately, Miami Dolphins, because born and bred. Baseball, I'm not too into, and then for basketball, it's college basketball because I went to Duke for undergrad, so I got to support the Duke Blue Devils.
But can we just talk about the Miami coach and how Miami got this year?
Have you seen his transformation? How he dressed? That brother went to Yale. That's a Yale grad. Now looking all
Miami now. He's so Miami now.
And his drip. And now his hair is all curly and stuff. They changed him. Miami changes you, and it doesn't take just a weekend, right? I mean, look at his transformation over 3 years, and you'll see.
3 years. It's so funny.
No, Alfredo, with your background of all your universities, I was like, I wonder who he roots for.
Yeah, I knew the Dolphins. That's why I didn't ask. I felt bad for him. They get our leftovers like Tyreek.
Aaron, did Dallas change you?
A little bit. I lived there throughout my 20s, so I think I became a little bit more high maintenance, but not like that Miami coach changed. He's a whole new man. So, all right, with that said, make sure that you connect with both Ashley and Alfredo right here on LinkedIn. They're doing big things in Kansas City. Thank you so much to both of you guys for coming on. Thank you so much to Bestway International and Evardy. Try to say those two together too fast. I get tripped up sometimes, but we have two amazing sponsors. Thank you, Scott, for being the best co-host ever. And we will see you same time, same place next week right here. And also, Paul says Dolphins and Blue Devils grown. We'll end it there.
Kansas City